Welcome to Chop Shop Motors. My name is Clay, and it is a hot summer Saturday afternoon, and Shelby and I are going to do hot rod deep dive. Airplane sounds are provided at no extra charge. And today's hot rod deep dive is a 1932 Ford 5-window. So we're going to walk you around this little coupe. And this is a slick little car that I've had for a number of years. I bought it from a friend, and it is just a neat car. So the background on this car is it came out of the Oregon area. Origins before that are sketchy for sure. It had been, it was that kind of proverbial barn find. His dad had seen it in a barn behind a tire shop, and somehow the hot rod gods smiled down, and he was able to get it, and then ultimately I ended up with it. So super excited. What made it a old hot rod is it has a little flathead 60 in it, which isn't that common of a change, but it had a little flathead 60. And it has a side shift transmission versus a top shift transmission. It had a 40 column or steering wheel assembly with cross steer. So a few changes that made it absolutely a hot rod. Has 40 hydraulic brakes. So it was kind of a neat piece. It had been kind of in that barn for an awful long time in a pretty wet climate. So that's hard on them. So it's got a few issues that we'll deal with at some point, but let's take a walk around and we'll look at kind of what makes this car cool. So at the front, really nice 32 grille. It's got the original spreader bar. The grille is just gorgeous. It is originally a 4-cylinder car, so it's a B model. It has a dropped headlight bar, a later model that I put on it, dropped headlight bar, and not a dropped original, it's an aftermarket bar. It does have a set of a score from the Pomona swap meet of the Arrow headlights with the markers in the top, which are just so cool. So Arrows are not super common headlights, but they were on a handful of pretty important kind of trend-setting hot rods back in the day. They have a nice look to them. Those little markers are pretty uncommon and pretty neat. They also have a jewel at the back of it, which is kind of interesting if you go back here. So I've turned those into turn signals. So when that turn signal lights up, it actually shows me that it's on. You can kind of look at it from the inside of the car, you can kind of see it blinking back there. So that's kind of cool. Sheet metal is the sheet metal that came with the car. Other than the running boards, I did put different running boards on it. It's got some rust in the cowl, lower cowl. It's got rust in lots of little places along it, but all fixable. And it's had work done to it along the way, but all savable. Under the hood, it's got a V8 60 in it, and it does run. I've kept it running over time. It had a corroded out head at one point. I replaced the head. There's nothing really exotic about the motor other than it's just one of these little pea shooter motors. I've got a brand new fresh 40 Ford flathead that'll go in it. So eventually this will get updated probably in the next couple years. Other things that it has done to it, obviously the steering box has been changed to make it side shift, so it has this component here to shift the transmission. It has a cross steer steering box in it, which is a little different than what it would have come with. It has a late contemporary dropped and drilled front axle under it to get it down a little bit in the front. other than that, you know, it's more or less old tech, nothing too exotic. We'll update it. We'll update it in by the way, we'll freshen it up. We're probably not going to do a huge update on it. Brake wise, it has hydraulic 34 brakes, which have been rebuilt at least once, and we'll probably have to do it again because it's been I don't know, 10 years, you think, since I drove this car? So probably 10 years since I drove it. It's got a super nice windshield frame. The doors open and close really nice. Inside, it has early signal stat, turn signal switch. It has a Stewart Warner straight 5 gauge panel with coffin needle gauges. It's got some spare parts stored inside, but for the most part, it's all there and all complete. Back here, it is late, like probably 39 Pontiac taillights on stands that I built to sweep them forward. 32 tank. The spreader bar I robbed off of it for the other 32 project just to mock it up. It's got nice original fenders. The right rear fender has a crack in it that I have to fix, but other than that, all the sheet metal is fender-wise is pretty doggone nice. The roof of the car at some point in its life had been filled, so it does not have a fabric insert, which, considering the fact that it was in Oregon, probably was really a good deal because it kept some of the moisture out of the inside of the car. It's a rumble seat car originally. The rumble seat deck lid I have for it is pretty flogged, but I have a really nice trunk deck lid for it. So I will more than likely convert it back to a trunk style and use the really nice deck lid I have. This particular car has a roll down rear window. Honestly, I'm not sure if all of them did or not, but this one does have a roll down rear window. And the plans for this will be pull it off the frame, freshen up the frame, rebuild all the running gear, and then assess what it needs. A floor in it. The trunk floor is seen better days, so I have a new trunk floor for it. So the plan is to replace whatever sheet metal it needs and get the frame completely redone, and then we'll see at that point what I want to do on the outside. It may end up being put in red oxide. It's already been in red oxide, so that may be the way we go. Or it may get something completely different. The wheels on this, it's got Coker tires on powder coated orange 40 Ford wheels, and it's got 44 deluxe caps. The caps are reproduction, the wheels are original, and the tires are contemporary reproductions of Firestones. So rears, if I'm not mistaken, I think they're 700. Let me just take a quick. So 700 16s on the front, on the back, and I think they're 550s 16s on the front. So that's kind of the 32 in a nutshell. It's a really neat little car. It deserves to get put together, so I'm excited to put some time in on it. I just have kind of submersed myself in other projects, so we'll get those out of the way, and then this will move to the top. And lots of people are like, you should probably do that one first, and there's probably no argument for that. Maybe that would have been the right thing to do, but I didn't do it, so we'll save it for just a little bit down the road, and then we'll build it. I'm Clay for Chop Shop Motors, and we'll see you on the next project.